Right. Oh my golly. Okay.
It's loading up.
All right.
Okay, hey everybody, what's happening? This is Robert Phoenix broadcasting to you live. We're actually broadcasting to you live from Fredericksburg, Texas, and I'm with Marina Darkstar all the way from the UK. Where are you, Marina?
London, West London. Yay.
Swinging London. Well, welcome to the show.
Hello. Well, nice to be here. Finally.
Yeah. So we've been planning this now for what, about 6 weeks or so?
Yeah.
And we had the great foresight to plan this right before Mercury went retrograde. Talk about astrologers being on their game, right?
Yeah, it's right on the, I just noticed the chart of today. It's right on the edge of Pisces as well. It's about to go into Aries. So is that right? Yeah.
It's at 29. It actually stops at 29 and goes backwards.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, I was thinking that. Yeah, I know that it's in Pisces. I think, what's it doing? Oh, of course.
The last degree of Pisces.
My brain is retrograde at the moment.
Well, it's a little late there, right? It's like 10:30 there.
Yeah, it is now.
You put in a full Sunday being a hardworking astrologer and mother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I haven't got my daughter at the weekends, so that's when I do all my work. So yeah.
Okay, well, it's great to have you on.
Okay. Yes.
So let's talk a little about let's talk a little bit about you. Now, you first came into my orbit probably around 2010, I think.
Oh, right. God. Okay.
I did a thing on Chiron. You actually commented on it on my website. You probably don't remember that.
Oh, God, it's
really,
so long ago.
You enjoyed the write-up. You said, this is pretty good. I think that's what you said. This is pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's when I first noticed you. And then I know you were doing stuff with Jamie at that time, right?
Yeah.
You guys were connected. You were like the power couple of astrology.
That was mad. Yeah, I know. But it seems such a long time ago now, because we split, I think, in 2013. At the end of 2013 was when it became, we sort of separated from, he got his Astrology King, and I had Darkstar on my own. But Darkstar we were together with Darkstar for, I think, a year or two. No,
so how did that work out between him and the Leo King? He's the Astrology King. There's the Leo King. I mean,
oh yeah, I know. Yeah, no, he bought Astrology King because it was for sale, and he wanted a site that had some sort of something that had lots of, I don't know what the word, like, what is the word when there's a site that's had a lot of traffic on it?
Traction.
Yeah, it had a good Google rating. He didn't want to start from scratch, so he bought that one. But yeah, it's a bit Leo King. I mean, he's not even a Leo; he's a Virgo, but he's got Mars in Leo. So yeah. Right.
So there's the Astrology King, and then we have the Leo King.
Yeah.
And did you ever apply to be the Astrology Queen? Did that ever come up for you guys?
No, but well, the Dark Queen, the Queen of Lilith. I was very much sort of the Lilith Queen for a while, and I was writing a book, and that was what. When we were together, I think I played the sort of lunar dark goddess person, and he was like, the sort of the male king kind of thing, and I was like the queen, but the Dark Queen. But then when it was just me on my own, and then I had my sort of awakening of things to do with feminism and, oh God, the whole sort of matrix and all that stuff. But that came later. That was in about 2014, maybe. But I was always into the conspiracy side when I was with him, but he really wasn't. And he used to go, oh God, stop talking about all this David Icke stuff. So when Darkstar originally was going to be my own site about like dark things and conspiracy, and I said, look, I want to start a site about that, so I'm going to do that, and I want the name Darkstar, and I wanted us to change the name to Darkstar, but he didn't want to change it because it wasn't his name. And I said, right, I'm going to do my own site, and it's going to be all conspiracy and all the things I wasn't allowed to talk about. But then in the end, he sort of ended up that way. But
isn't that interesting how that fleshed out?
Yeah, yeah. But the Lilith book I started writing about 3 years ago, or before I sort of had my awakening. So I'm sort of rewriting it now because it was a bit more sort of feministy. And then I realized, no, she's not. Lilith isn't a good thing. I was trying to sort of sugarcoat her really, and say, no, she's been demonized. But watching the transits of it really, it's not, and it is. That's why I did that YouTube video about that abortion law, the one that recently passed, and there was a strong Lilith influence there, because I mean,
so
Lilith
is
literally
Lilith's in Aquarius right now, right?
Yeah.
How would you define that on like a mundane level for people looking at it from a global perspective? How would you define that right now?
The thing with Lilith, I don't really use it as transits anymore, because there's two of them, and the mean Lilith is the one that's in Aquarius, but the true Lilith is the more true one. The mean one has just been averaged out. So I realized that it's best to just use it as a snapshot in charts, but not as transits. I don't think it has that much effect. It's more of a sort of divination tool. I don't think it actually, but it does. It is, when the moon is closer to the earth, then there is something about the apogee, the dark moon apogee. So it does have an effect with the moon being further or closer to the earth. And I did a whole article about that, but I can't really remember the specifics of it now. But it did seem that there's an effect of it when it's near new moons, full moons. But otherwise, what's sort of taken over for me is Ceres. It's got a more kind of Lilith effect as Persephone, and because it's an actual body. It's
a body, right?
Body. I think that's the sort of Lilith I was searching for, and that's the dark goddess I was searching for. So now the whole Lilith, Pluto, Eris triad, and they're all Eris and Pluto are Plutinos, and they're all parts of the Persephone myth as well. So they kind of work as a triad together, and Pluto and Ceres connections are the ones to look at. And so Ceres has taken over from Lilith. Now I take her more seriously, really, than Lilith. So so in answer to what Lilith in Aquarius is at the moment, I don't know. It doesn't really. It's not there. It's just a point, really. It's not a body. So I don't really think it's. I don't know. I see it as a kind of divination thing rather than a astrology thing.
Right.
It's hard to pin it down.
That's an interesting point. I mean, if I were to take a stab at it and look at it and try to pin some meaning on it, I mean, and perhaps you would have another angle to this, but I would be looking at this from like the abortion perspective.
Yeah, that's where it seems to kind of come up. And feminism, but in a kind of destructive way, in a sort of, like angry, man-hating way.
Well, a lot of people think I bang on Aquarians, and I know you're an Aquarian, and I don't. I really like Aquarians, but there's a dark side to every sign, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, when I see this, to me, this is dark Aquarian. This is not.
Oh, yeah.
This is not like an integrated version of Aquarius. It's like, we're going to check this box because this is the box to check. It's ideological, right? It's connected to some form of ism. And it's very cold. There's this cold kind of calculated, kind of version of this versus to me, which would be integrated Aquarius, which was like, look, we're all part of one human experience. And when we have these wounds, these deep wounds in our experience, we all suffer, right? I mean, that's kind of how I see it, but you may have a different take on it, or you may share a similar view.
Well, I mean, you see, when I was using modern astrology before I kind of got into the traditional stuff, and someone said, oh no, but your real ancient ruler is Saturn. And I used to think, no, Saturn's so horrible. You know, I thought Saturn was really uncool, and I really liked Uranus being the ruler of Aquarius. But now I realize, God, I am so Saturnian. I mean, I've got stellium in Aquarius anyway. And I think Aquarians are really, they're not these sort of hippy dippy Dionysians at all, on Age of Aquarius hippies. I'm not at all like that. And even when I was younger, I was always the most sensible of all my friends. They were all the ones like experimenting a lot more than I was. So then I think, well, I wasn't ever allowed to be the Saturn Aquarius because, oh, you're Aquarius, so you're really humanitarian and open-minded and experimental. But actually, I don't know. I don't think we are. And the Aquariuses I know aren't really sort of, I actually know one of them is, but I think she's got a lot of sort of more Piscean stuff going on as well. So I don't know. But yeah, my view, I think maybe as we get older as well, that we could become more Saturnian. And I like Saturn. I like boundaries. I'm a real boundary head.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's something that we've lost sight of in a lot of ways. Yeah. Because whether it's like, sort of the Crowley-esque sort of, do as thou will, right? Everything's permitted. We've gone through a whole season of that. And I think we've seen the effects of that. And it's like, maybe everything shouldn't be permitted.
No.
Maybe we need to, especially when you become a parent, you begin to see that, everything permitted may not be a cool thing.
Yeah, right? No, I know. It's funny because I saw an interview with Salvini, the Italian Prime Minister, today, because I thought we were going to talk about him. So I thought, actually, he's not the Prime Minister, he's the Deputy Prime Minister. They talk about as if he is the Prime Minister. And they said, oh, you were a communist. He was a communist when he was younger. So, and he's just changing over just to go where the money is, or da-da-da. And they said to him, oh, you were a communist when you were younger. And he goes, well, yeah, when you're younger you are, and then you have kids and you grow up. And I was very lefty as well when I was younger. So does that mean I'm like, a dilettante and I'm not serious? But no, it's just, I went to art college and there's indoctrination there. And yeah, so.
Well, let's go back in time with you a little bit. When did you first start to get into astrology?
God, I think it was when I was really little. I mean, well, when I was about, I don't know, 10 and things like that, I used to go to the library and just get books out about astronomy. So I was more into the actual planets and astronomy. And then into the teenage, it was like, boyfriends, what's their star sign? And then you get into it more. But I think I took a book out of the library. I think it was the Parker's one when I was a student. And I never got
Julia back. Parker. Right, I have that book.
Yeah, and it had an ephemeris at the back. So all the people, all my friends were just like, you can see like lines drawn down for all the people that I knew for each of the things. So that's when I started doing charts. And I think I did a evening class or something then.
Right.
But then I went to college and I did illustration. So it's sort of, I never thought of it as a career. But I was always doing it in the background. And then I think 2005 was when I did it as a course at the London School of Astrology, foundation course. And then it was when I had the Jupiter, Neptune, Chiron conjunction on my Mars, and I met Jamie, and that was the whole thing.
Everything changed.
Soulmate, oh, we're gonna be astrologers together, blah, 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 blah. And yeah, that was it. And he said, yeah, we can do this as a career. I went, yeah, but I haven't done any courses, but I've been doing it all my life. But we just jumped in the deep end and started doing charts, and that was it. Mm-hmm. And it just came really naturally to me. And yeah, but I've been doing it all my life anyway, so I knew it all. And I had a library of books. It was just self-taught, really. But yeah, it was professional. 2008 was when my illustration career just kind of fizzled away. Like Neptune just dissolved it, and then and it replaced it with astrology. And yeah, I never knew that I could have it as a full-time thing, and I have. So
that's interesting.
It'll be 10 years anniversary in 2020. I have to find out the date because I've got the chart for Darkstar Astrology. I think it's 2010 sometime. So I'll have to do an anniversary.
So I guess that's when I found you guys, was around 2010.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you have a background in illustration and what, design? Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it was illustration. So I used to do, it was commissioned for loads of magazines and stuff like that. It was mainly magazines, some political ones. I did the front cover of the New Scientist once as well, so that was quite nice. The Sunday Times. So I used to do really three-dimensional stuff. I don't know if you can see it. Oh, it's in the wall, but I can't really move it around. But yeah, I used to do.
Well, your site has a great visual feel, so you know it definitely comes through on your.
Yeah.
Design, yeah.
Yeah, I found an artist who's really into kind of the occult, and he does work that sort of reminds me of the stuff I used to do when I used to do collage. So I asked him if I could use his stuff, and he said, yeah, so that's really good. So now I use his illustrations for my moons and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we found out pretty much how you got into astrology and the connection with Jamie. And that kind of brings us a little bit up to the present and how you and I got here tonight, because you started to see some of my videos, which you liked, and like, oh, cool. All right, we've got an ally here, because, you know, let's face it. A lot of astrologers tend to be what we define as progressive or leftist, you know, and they have kind of an ideology that's built into that, and it's sort of new agey at times, and
the new agey thing. Yeah.
You know, and I really began to, you know, move away from that when I started to do the site originally back in 2009. It was like, okay, there's a void here, and it's not because I needed to fill a void, it's just because that's where my consciousness was at, and I was going through, you know, the next level of awakening at that time. So, you know, I'm really interested in, you know, how you got here. What was that moment where all of a sudden you woke up and said, you know what, you know, this paradigm that we're all kind of sleepwalking through is something I really need to rethink?
Yeah, I think it was a gradual thing. I think well, actually, I suppose really it might have started in 1999, because I got out, this is when I was working in an office and I wasn't doing astrology at all, but I just got out Truth Vibrations by David Icke, and I was reading it in the break, and everyone was just taking the piss out of me. But I said, look, he's saying this thing about Europe, like Europe, he was going on then about the EU and how it was some big sort of thing, and he was going on, we'll have barcodes on our wrists and stuff like that, and I just thought, I don't know, he's onto something. And just because it was so kind of taboo and everyone took the piss out of it, I always kind of gravitate to anything like that. So, but then I sort of left it a bit. But then I was listening to a lot of conspiracy stuff with the internet. There was more access to it. So I think it was about 2013. I was listening to a lot of Red Ice, and they were always very more sort of esoteric and conspiracy. Then they went into more, I suppose, well, nationalist stuff.
They became identitarian, right?
Yeah,
that was the thing. Yeah,
they did slowly. So I kind of got pulled into that for a while, and then I thought, oh no, they're going too far now. So I sort of stopped listening to them for a bit. But then the migration crisis came. And I think 2015, I just thought, hang on, there's something really weird going on. This isn't organic. It seems like it's a deliberate thing. And then seeing more and more stuff about the Matrix, and actually, yeah, I think rewind a little bit. There was a lot of stuff about like the Archons and the Gnostics as well that I got into about 2-3 years ago as well. So then there was like, is it aliens? I mean, this is the thing. So all is it? Is it? And Michael Tsarion, actually, I was into him about 4 years ago as well. So, and he was going on about, you know, all the enslaved stuff and the secret rulers of the world, and then alien intervention, and yeah. I mean, there's just so much. But it was all these kind of things, and I was always thinking, yeah, all those are things that I've always resonated with. But then thought, am I crazy? And then things like the von Daniken books when I was younger as well. you know, ancient aliens, all
Right.
that stuff.
Yeah.
But the kind of the aliens thing is, I don't know, is a bit like,
I'm not so much into the alien trip anymore. Like
no.
I did a middle school presentation on Chariots of the Gods, right? So I did that in the 8th grade, and you know, that's how long I've been, you know, sort of following this stuff. And I don't have a whole lot of interest in that as much as I used to, because, you know, when you were a kid, it's like comic books.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I do think there's a lot to it, especially when we get into like the interdimensional stuff, and, you know, and that's what I think is kind of,
the possession thing and the demonic stuff and mind viruses. Actually, that made the most sense. The Watiko thing.
Watiko, yeah,
yeah, that the mind virus, because it's like a meme, isn't it? It's like things that go viral. So I think it is a mind thing. So the sorcerers, whoever is controlling us, they're good with all it's spells. I mean, it's the use of words and archetypes and memes and
symbols are huge spell carriers. Yeah.
And then I wonder whether astrology, how maybe it works because of the archetypes, like the Lilith archetype. Maybe we all created her, so she works because she exists because we've given her a name. And like with all the planets, you know, like before Chiron was discovered, there wasn't that archetype, and then it was, and then the archetype came. Or did the planet in the sky become there because we thought it up and it was right for that?
It's always an interesting question, right? It's always an interesting question about when these planetary bodies emerge and when these satellites emerge and what's going on with us at that time. You know, who dreamed who, right?
Yeah, I do think it is a bit of a, I don't know how astrology works either. It's like something, is it, too many people sort of say, oh, you know, they're scared to do things because they think the planets have so much control over their lives. And I just think, God, no, don't be like that. That's ridiculous. Because then I think, oh, are the planets the archons? And is astrology part of the control system? Like, you know, religion's being used to do that as well. But it's mind-blowing sometimes when you have to try and figure it all out. But it seems to work.
Well, it's I mean, clearly it works.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be doing it. I wouldn't be doing it. You know, I mean, astrology is a booming business, right? It's really big right now. And there are people who get thousands of hits and you know, that's really big with millennials. So yeah, it does work. How it works, well, that's, you know, debatable. I've got some ideas. You may have some ideas, but can we pin them all down?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, somebody said that the consciousness that makes astrology works is so high up we can't fathom it. So it's not, you know, that's why we can't answer that question. It just does.
Yeah, I think it's a number of factors. I don't think it's any one thing.
Yeah.
That's my sense. I mean, clearly there are geocosmic forces that are being exerted from planet to planet. I mean, that's how planets are discovered, right? That's how they discovered Uranus.
Oh,
Saturn
yeah.
had a wobble, right? So we know that they have influence on one another. You know, that part we know. Everything else, now we get to fill in kind of what those energetic or archetypal resonances are. And then, you know, we just go with it and feel it out. And part of it is very intuitive. You know, Ptolemy said that astrology is really great, but it's not everything. And I tell people that sometimes, you know, and like, yeah, it's a really good tool. We can work with it. And at the end of the day, if you give yourself over to it completely, like every other ism, you're gonna hit a wall, right? Because ultimately everything has its limits. You know, everything is an ism, and then something beyond that is this kind of transcendent and immanent force. But I think it's a great navigational tool. To me, it's like a map. Yeah,
it is. But also though, the personalities, like the gods in that, if you could so see people say, oh, he's a Pluto, and the way that he functions and the way that he does things is Pluto, and it follows a it follows rules. It's really weird. It's like he's that kind of person. He's that
Absolutely
person, and that's a Mars, and you know what they're going to do if they're being Mars, and so it's easy to kind of predict. It's like, oh, that's a Labrador. We know what Labradors are like. It's weird, but it kind of works that way, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I totally agree. Do you think that there's a planet that is underrated?
Ceres. I really like Ceres. I think she's, I think they discovered it in 1801.
Right.
And I don't know why it's sort of, I don't know why, see, I don't use Chiron anymore because I just think I'm just going to use Ceres in place of it, because I think she's underrated. And with the whole kind of narcissist thing, it really goes with it. So she's not just an earth goddess. There's so much more to Ceres. So yeah, she's the underrated one for me.
So you relate to the myth of Persephone.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So would you relate, or would you say that this kind of level of awakening that you went through as part of your Persephonic journey?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. Because I think I was pulled into the underworld with astrology. And it's funny because I divorced my first husband when I started doing the evening classes in 2005. The next year was when I sort of had an affair, and it's funny because my uncle said, oh, it was when she started doing astrology that things started going wrong. And I thought, oh God, that's such a, because he was a Christian, you know, they're Sicilian, they're all like Christians and whatever, right. Catholics. But he's not wrong, actually, really, because it's a Lilithy thing being pulled into astrology, and it's a bit witchcrafty because you're going into different dimensions. And so yeah, he wasn't wrong. So yeah, that was you go into sort of that rabbit hole, and where was I going with this? Yeah.
So you got into it. Astrology pulled you in, and then did it begin to pull you out?
Oh yeah, no, I was going to go into the, well, yeah, maybe it's a bit too personal talking about relationships, but I mean, me and Jamie for a while, that was quite, I mean, he was in the underworld. He was like down in Australia. So he was, to me, he was a little bit Pluto-y, and I was kind of quite naive-y, and he's had a life, you know, he's been, I mean, he's you can see it on his website. He's had addiction problems. Everyone knows that. And, you know, so I'm sort of the kind of innocent kind of Ceres Sicilian Catholic girl. And, you know, so there was a bit of a being abducted there. And then, yeah, so then I came out of it, and then I saw Lilith in a different light as well. But then also narcissism in my own family, with my mother, and she's a Ceres, sort of Ceres, the negative Ceres, and then various boyfriends after that, like going out with addicts, and that's, you know, and that's the forbidden.
That's total Persephone, right? I mean,
yeah. But then, you know, I've got my addiction problems as well, kind of, you know.
Right.
I used to. I mean, another thing was, when I was younger, I mean, I was from the age of 18, I smoked pot every day until 2009. So that's kind of what stopped then. And then I replaced it with astrology. And my life is so much better since I gave up the pot.
Right.
So that was, I was taking that because it was kind of just blurring me to, it was just numbing from the pain of lots of things from childhood and stuff like that. So I knew what that was. But yeah, so there's a bit of the addiction thing there too.
Well, maybe tonight marks your escape from the underworld.
Yeah.
Now you're having a conversation with a sober living Virgo from Texas. How's that?
Yeah.
You've arrived.
Oh God. And yeah, I've come out about it as well. Well, I think I've told people anyway, so yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I want to ask you one more question about your transformation, because obviously you're well known. People, you know, inside the astrology world know your work, and you made a shift. Did you get any backlash, or did people drop you, or how's that gone for you?
I think yeah, when I started YouTube, it's yeah, I mean, you do get the backlash. I get it most from Facebook, because I think a lot of people that my followers then came from when I was more into the Lilith stuff. So they saw me as a sort of, you know, a Lilithy, very sort of women power sort of thing. And yeah, so, but it's kind of, it's evolved quite nicely. It's like where people have gone, other people have joined, and and I think over the last it's been 3 years of kind of transition between how people used to see me and how they see me now. But a lot of people have come with me and seen and awoken at the same time. So it hasn't been that bad. And I thought I would lose a lot of people. And I've had a few people saying, oh, unfollowing or whatever, but not as much as I thought. But it seems to have settled down now. But I think a couple of years ago when I first started, I was so scared to say anything. And every time I did, I was like, oh my God. And I was bracing myself for the bad comments, but now they seem to have stopped. So yeah, but
yeah,
at first you do get it.
It's interesting because, you know, we have, you know, this field that we create, and then what happens is people, you know, are drawn to it and resonate with it, and then some people are repelled by it. It's a very interesting experience as far as my experience goes, because over the years, I mean, I've pretty much been the same astrologer over the years, but I have waves of people that have been, you know, here now, but they weren't here at the beginning. So it's very interesting to see. But I have changed sort of kind of at a micro level through this journey or through this experience. But so I think that part is fascinating. I wanted to ask you one more thing. It has to do with like the nodes, right? Because right now we've got the true node in Cancer, South Node in Capricorn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you know, one of the things that's one of my big things of the nodes, and I think they're really powerful as predictive models. And you know, I really was writing the true node in Leo, South Node in Aquarius when that was happening. And you could see a lot of things go down with South Node Aquarius. Free speech getting shut down. That's when it all began to start, right? And you're an Aquarian, and I think, and I want to get back to the notes for a second. This is what I wanted to ask you about. Is that being a true Aquarian, you're kind of cutting against the grain of like where we are in terms of, you know, public opinion, vox populi, things of that nature. And so I'm sure that's occurred to you, right? Like you're really living your sign in your own way.
Yeah. Well, that's what is funny, because a lot of the progressives think they're so counterculture, but they are the culture.
They became the culture. Absolutely.
They are the culture, and it's yeah. But then at the same time, then I'm thinking there's only a very small elite really who are running the media, and the amount of progressive people in the whole world is very small. I mean, if you think outside of the United States and England, and you just go to Europe, like if you go to Greece and Italy and Eastern Europe, and the rest of the world is not progressive at all. Right. It's very nationalistic. It's very traditional. When I looked up, again with the abortion law, and I was thinking, what do Buddhists say about it? What do Hindus? And nobody thinks it's good. And so why is it that the Catholics are all bashed for it when they say, well, you know, it's against our religion, but it's against all religions pretty much. Right. It's only the New Age who, then I saw a woman on YouTube who was New Age, and she was going, oh no, and she had a different take on it, obviously, but everybody says it's wrong. And even in, I didn't know this, but in Japan, they have, like, you know, they have graveyards for the aborted babies, it's legal, but they recognize it as a thing to mourn, not to celebrate.
Right. You know?
So wow, I didn't even know that. So we are in a bit of a bubble, and then I always, whenever I sort of panic about, oh my God, you know, I'm being controversial, I think actually I'm not, because really most of the world don't think like the progressives in America, you know, and in England. and the rest of the world isn't like that.
Yeah.
You know, because they're outnumbered and they know it, and they can try and shut people down in on YouTube and everywhere else, but soon it's just there'll be an avalanche against it. Hopefully, hope so.
Hopefully. You know what's really fascinating? I don't know if you've been following this or not, but there seems to be this decision-making process now that is like across the board. Like when one entity does something, all these other entities kind of fall into line very, very quickly. And it really hasn't been that way. I'll give you an example. Like just last week, Amazon decided that they were going to take the Vaxxed documentary and all the other vaccine documentaries off of Amazon.
Oh, right. I didn't know that.
No, not only that, but a lot of people like this website called Etsy, has a lot of crafty stuff. People buy from Etsy, their own stores. Etsy took every single store that had any anti-vaccine kind of attire or apparel. They took those stores down.
Oh, God.
So we're seeing these decisions now being made kind of unilaterally at a high level. So while there may not be that many, and theoretically, I think you're right, but where they're positioned at the, near the top of the pyramid, they're having the ability to make these decisions. And because we become so bound into the internet, it's easy for them to just start, flicking buttons, and
It is scary. I know. I was thinking, God, what if it all went down? Because so much of our information and in my website, my business, it's all on the net. I'd be buggered if it went down. So how would I eat?
Right. So that's actually
it's all
So the Virgo in me says you should probably have a little plan B cooking on the side. That's just how I am.
I know. Well, yeah, I guess. And the Aquarius in me is all bloody cyberspace. God.
Well, hey, we're both there. I'm in bed.
I was thinking, well, if the worst comes to the worst, I'll just go back to Sicily and live on a farm or something. Go and stay with my uncle, because he's got. What I say to him, he said, all this food we're eating today, it all came from a farm. I said, all right, you've got your olives, your wine, everything. So if the worst comes to the worst.
I think it's a pretty sane idea. And there may be a time where a lot more people are probably going to do that, either by choice or perhaps by circumstance. So.
I know. And then I thought, well, maybe I need to keep my ephemerises and things like books and stuff. And I mean, I did learn how to draw up a chart like by hand years ago, but I've forgotten now. But you'd have to be, you might have to go back to that. Oh my God. No, I don't know. I don't think it'll ever get to that. But if it did, whoa. Yeah.
So, do you have anything you want to share about this Mercury retrograde that's coming up? We got 29 Pisces. I think it goes back to 14 or 15. And then it goes back to 29.
Yeah, there's a conjunction with Neptune that happens a couple of times. So I just thought this one's really, I mean, the thing is, there's always fake news and there's always like propaganda and stuff, but I just think there's going to be even more with this one. I just think it's going to be really, really sneaky and slimy. Hang on, I'm just going to see. Because the trouble with me is I write things so far in advance that I can't remember what I wrote. So I haven't looked at it.
You need to bring your daughter in as your assistant so she can.
Yeah. Oh, I called it Wings of Wisdom. That's right. Okay. So I've got it on thing. Oh, yeah, because it's all in Pisces. Oh, that's it. Fixed star Shiat, which is this is the star that's in Pegasus, and that's to do with accidents. So air ones. I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, like somebody said to me, "Oh my God, should I travel on the day that it's conjunct Shiat?" And I said, "Well, no. It's not everyone's going to have an accident on that day." But it just might mean that something in the news to do with aeroplanes, maybe. Maybe. And I think it works more as a collective thing. But then, really, it's conjunct Neptune twice, and then Achenar, which is to do with evangelical stuff. So So there may be some kind of preaching going on as well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I was looking at with these Jupiter squares to Neptune, is kind of the messianic, hyper preachy kind of energy that's associated with that. And when I saw that, it's like, that's like born again Zionist Christian territory.
Yeah.
Third temple, that kind of stuff, right? And those people are on a roll right now. I mean, ever since Trump greenlit the embassy there. Now all these other countries are like, Brazil wants to move their embassy to Jerusalem, because they're
really?
Oh yeah, they're in tight with Netanyahu for sure.
Yeah, I didn't really realize, because that's been coming up a lot on my YouTubes recently about the whole the Zionist Christian thing, and I just didn't know how much. Yeah, I didn't realize there was so much of it.
By Zionist Christians in the White House.
Yeah. So maybe that's what the Mercury retrograde is going to be about as well. It's we'll see what big whoppers, big lies. There's going to be some huge lie, I think. I don't know what though. We'll see.
Well, one of the things that's also been happening now is YouTube has gone into this mode where they're replacing conspiracy or truth related material with these quote unquote like spokespeople, even though they're not real spokespeople, but they're kind of like internet personalities. And they take on these various kinds of topics that are, truth related, and they give them a little bit of credence, and then they debunk them. And they're rising these things to the top of the search results, right? So that's a whole other thing that's happening. There's like this kind of replacement level order of truth that really isn't truth, but it's kind of approximating it, but at the same time it's downgrading it. So it's very interesting and very subtle now. And we're living in like really weird times when it comes to this stuff. And I think Neptune and Pisces has a lot to do with this.
Oh yeah, it's so sneaky. And it is, the controlled opposition thing. I really didn't realize how bad it was, but it really is. It's like, wow. Like Tommy Robinson as well. I didn't know, like, oh God, it's too sneaky for words. And
Tommy's he's an interesting case, right? I mean, I got on him because I thought this guy's a shill.
Yeah.
He's a total shill. I know where his game is. He's a shill. And then I came out with it on my web. I did a couple of podcasts, and I had lost a bunch of people. I mean, like, how could you say it? Well, on the one hand, he's kind of doing something important, right? He's theoretically out in these grooming gangs.
Yeah, yeah.
But on the other hand, he's undermining things at the same time, because he's not talking about the real debate.
No, they never do. Yeah. I got really caught up with all the sort of the Muslim thing for a long time, and then I got annoyed with myself because I thought, oh God, I'm being played really badly, because it's such an emotive thing. And if you've got a daughter and you live in an area where I do, you just get really like, it just, you get all protective lioness, and it's like, oh my God, they're like, and I just thought, no, it's how much of that, how do we even know it's true? I mean, some of the stories about the gangs, I mean, I don't know, do we even know they're true?
This is a big question right now about, what we can sign off on.
Because I don't know if I can believe anything now. It's just, and then, because, I mean, the school that my daughter's in is heavily Muslim. I mean, it's about a quarter kind of white British, really, if that. And they and her best friends, I mean, she's got two best friends who wear the hijab and everything, and they all love each other, and they really get on. And my daughter's always saying to me, they're just normal people. And I said, I know, I've met them. I said, look, I know, Stella, but I hear these things. And I think, I don't know. People say bad things about Christians as well. And so, and it's like not all. So.
Well, I think there's an extreme element
Yeah.
that exists in a lot of religions.
Yeah, in all, yeah.
Yeah, and the extreme element of Islam is there, just like there's extreme Judaism, like, you know, this hybrid form of Zionism.
Yeah.
And of course we have extreme Christianity. You know, one of the things that I encountered on a couple of occasions, like, you know, getting picked up by taxi cab drivers or Uber drivers here in the States, and a lot of them are from, you know, places like, you know, either Syria, or they may be from maybe Pakistan, or and this. I think I had this one guy. He was from Iraq.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, some of these people were more American than Americans, right? I mean, they just loved being here. They loved the opportunity. I mean, they were almost rabid about how great it was to be in this country. And it's like, are you a Muslim? So yeah, but I just love being here, because where I'm from, I could never do anything like this.
Yeah.
So I think it's sometimes people kind of miss things a little bit, and we're being given this view all the time through the media, and it's not always the way it's being portrayed.
Well, no, the problem, I mean, that's the thing. Everyone is not nice. That's not the problem. I think mainly it is. I mean, the problem is like the culture around you, because what happens is you do see it on high streets, like where I am, then it becomes more and more, because if there's more of them, they're going to want their shops. So it's nothing against them. They can be the nicest people in the world, but I don't want to have loads of halal butchers in my high street. I want a nice tea shop or you know what I mean? It's just, but that's just me. And so I'm thinking, well, now what people do is just move where they can have nice tea shops.
But then that changes though, right? I mean, they'll be there for a while, then all of a sudden this next wave will come through. I mean, this happens constantly. Here in this country, we call it white flight, right? This has been going on really since like the late 60s, and urban renewal and all that stuff. And then eventually what would happen, it was like, okay, well, the quote unquote urban planners, or the people who are managing population and controlling the matrix, say, okay, well, you guys moved over here. Well, guess what? We're going to bring another wave of migration over here. And this happens consistently. I think the biggest crime is that people are never, ever, ever asked for their consent.
Yeah, no, that's it.
They never ask you or your community, do you want this kind of community?
Yeah.
And you're there and you're paying taxes, right? And you're doing all the things that are part of that community. You should have a say in it. It's like, okay, well, all right, we'll do this, but we want to keep it at 5% or whatever, right? Let's make it manageable so these people can integrate. You were never asked that. And people in this country, you go to Maine, where they're having this wild influx of Somalians in Maine, and they're coming in, and there's absolutely zero integration. You know, you know, people really saying, okay, well, I want to find out about your community. I want to find out about this country. No, there's none of that at all. So, but they never asked those people in Maine. So I think this is really, in some ways, the greatest crime, that they're not being inclusive in terms of their theoretical plan. And I think that's part of the doxing and the demoralization that takes place too, right? Oh, we have no power. We have no power, no say.
Yeah, no, but I think it is deliberate, because they do it all in such big amounts. I mean, when my family came over to England in whenever that was the 60s, there wasn't enough of them to sort of have a huge kind of Italian community. It was sort of dispersed, or that, you know, it wasn't as in such large amounts. Then the Polish came, there was a big wave, and they seem to sort of stick together, because there's a huge Polish community where I am, but everybody has their own like cafes. It's like there's the Polish one, and then there's the Somali one, and everyone's sort of, and then you've got the hipster one, where the hipster people go. But it is very divisive. It's like there's about 3 different communities where I am, and it's not very cohesive. That's the thing. It just feels a bit split. So and I just think I don't know, if it seems to be sort of deliberate, really.
Oh yeah, well, no doubt it's deliberate. I mean, they've decided that they want to change the demographics and everything else that goes along with that. So have you gone out as far as like, all right, a lot of people talk about the Pluto-Saturn conjunction that's happening in January of 2020, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Pluto-Saturn conjunction. Have you looked at that at all?
I've looked. Yeah, I've looked at it. There's a huge. Actually, somebody is getting it. It's Salvini. Just look at my charts. There's a lot of them all together.
Segue. Why don't I bring up his chart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because January the 13th, this is when you get the Mercury at 24 Capricorn, the Sun at 22, Ceres at 22, Saturn at 22, and Pluto at 22 Capricorn. So there's like 5 planets there, and they're all trining Salvini's moon. But a lot of people, because I've been doing transits for clients and stuff, and this comes up all the time, and I think, what the heck is going to happen with that big conjunction? Is
this the chart you're referring to? Can you see that?
Oh no, that's the Italy one.
Oh,
that one, that's Uranus.
One.
It's the Salvini one.
Let's see.
That stellium of.
Okay, I think I have. Here we go.
I mean, the last time there was a. That's not it. No, that's his chart on its own. But there was a. Did I send it to you?
Yeah, you did. Hold on, I'm just going through these.
It's called Crazy Transits to Salvini.
There it is. I think this is it. So let's go into here. Let's go into this. 3rd time's a charm. Is that it?
Yeah, that's the one. There at the bottom, you can see.
All right, I want to just tell people that Marina makes her own charts. And so this is her language. So I'm going to let her break this down. So why don't you go ahead and just jump in here?
Well, I just hope, I think, he's been seen as a kind of savior for Italy as well. And just with that Pluto, Saturn, Ceres. See, Ceres is the land and the connection with the land, and the power of Pluto and Saturn together as well as being such a force, and also to do with boundary setting and setting boundaries and saying to other countries, look, you know, Italy has its sovereignty. I think he's going to do really well. I don't know if there's going to be any elections, and people say, oh, he's not ready to become the prime minister yet, but they can see it happening. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be a really good day for him in January 2020. Oh, hang on, that's it's in a year's time.
That's right,
just under a year's time. So that Pluto Saturn conjunction, it's not just that. It's just that there's so much going on, and then later on, Jupiter will kind of join as well. It's just so. I mean, you know, Capricorn is so about. I think it's kind of patriarchal as well.
I think it is too.
And it is, I think it's men kind of taking back the control as well, because I don't know. I mean, and I know that sounds like women are going to scream at me for this, but it's the more Apollonian divine masculine energy. It doesn't necessarily have to be males, I guess, but it's setting boundaries and being less swayed by emotive pictures of you know, refugees or whatever. It's going to be a bit more practical as well, and they say that men are the builders of civilization, and has there ever been a matriarchal civilization that's kind of survived and been successful? Because when it comes down to it, who does the fighting and who does the sort of protecting of the land? It's the men in the end.
Absolutely. Well, they'll take care of that when they start cranking out the robots, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The men, no men necessary at that point. Although,
yeah.
But I don't think that's going to get played out. You're absolutely right. This is one of the things I've been talking about. Is this whole return to the Apollonian, and not in a negative way, but in a way that really has more clarity to it, and getting back to the idea of definition and boundaries, which we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, because when you know, when you know where you stand, when you know the limits, then you can kind of relax. It's like if you've got a fence around your property, or you've got, you can relax in it. But people feel insecure when they don't know where things end and where things start. So, so I think the last time the Pluto Saturn conjunction happened was in the 80s sometime. I think it was.
That was in Libra, right? It was in Libra.
Oh, was it in Libra? Oh, right. So yeah, this is
the Saturn-Pluto conjunction has not happened for a very long time. Really long time.
Yeah, and in Capricorn, oh my God, Saturn is really strong, and when it's in its own sign, it works in, I think, in a positive way. It's not in a negative way. It's just working the best it possibly can. So I think it'll be good. And also with Sarah's there as well, the connection with the earth is really important, because people look after the land that they feel is part of them. It's an extension of them. So that's the thing. So why can't Italy be for the Italians? That's what he said in one of his speeches. So
that's it. So
yeah, sorry.
Interesting communicator, right? I mean, he's got that true node and Mars and Capricorn in the 3rd house.
Oh yeah. So
he can be quite forceful getting his ideas across, don't you think?
Yeah. I think at the moment, I looked at his transits for now, and I think Saturn might be on his Mars at the moment.
That's correct. Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. So I think he's been. They said that they were going to arrest him or something because of.
Oh, right. That's right.
Rule about human rights or something, or the right to move from one place to another. But then he said, but then I'm also, but if I let them in, I'm breaking the laws of defending my country, which is very Saturn on Mars. So he goes, I've got to defend my country, surely.
Yep.
So yeah. So he goes, I'd be a traitor to my country if I wasn't doing that. So yeah.
So this is from 2 days ago. Salvini's League gains in new EU Parliament vote projection. Not quite sure what that means because I'm not there. Here's another. Italy's Di Maio trusts Salvini to stand by him for long term. So Di Maio is the deputy prime minister. Is that right?
No, Salvini's the deputy, and
okay, so who is Di Maio?
Is the actual one, because they're a coalition at the moment.
Okay.
There's no overall control, so they're having to work together.
Oh,
I don't know much about the actual the prime minister, to be honest. I think everyone knows so much about Salvini as if he is the prime minister, but I don't know about the other guy.
So this is interesting because there seems to be, just like in this country with Trump, there seems to be kind of a war around Salvini.
Yeah.
Because here we go. We've got Italian expose. An Italian expose documents Moscow money allegedly funding Salvini, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, it's them Russians again.
Yeah. Now, but he also has the Senate on his side because they've blocked an investigation into him for holding migrants on ships.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's the thing.
So he's got some interesting things going. Well, he's a Pisces too. And you would not necessarily think of a Pisces as being somebody who could really kind of hold the fort down in some ways, but he's got his sun in the 5th house, which gives him some Leonine aspects. And Pisces are always kind of surprising sometimes too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now I'm looking at his chart, and using the sort of fixed stars way of doing things. His moon is on Capulus, which is the dragon slayer. So, and Capulus is in Perseus, so he's like the heroic, slaying of the EU, probably. And what else? His sun on. Oh no, we haven't got a star for that one. But
should I bring that chart up?
Yeah, I'm just having a look at it on. Yeah.
Let me bring it up.
Yeah, see, he's all, so this is the underrated planet is Ceres opposite Saturn. Ceres the land, Saturn boundaries, and that's the strong opposition going down the center of his chart. So yeah, that's a bastion of
there it is right there, right?
Fighting for the land. Yeah. What else has he got? Venus square Saturn as well.
So you like the fixed stars.
Yeah, I do. Oh yeah. Yeah, they're my, see, I don't I'm that's why I'm a bit, I don't really look at Sun in Pisces as much as whatever the star is on. And so I'm not so big on the signs. I look at things like the aspects more than the signs, I think, when I read charts, and the decans as well. So, yeah, his ascendant is Acrox, which is a fix, which is the crucifix. So Salvini, the savior. Is he the savior of Italy?
Well, he's got a very powerful Jupiter trine to Pluto. Look at that.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's a good one.
It's almost 1 degree orb.
Yeah.
And with Pluto in Libra, 12th house, right? Deal maker behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So this is quite interesting, and I think Jupiter and Aquarius can actually be quite fair at times. Interesting, very interesting chart. I've noticed, I don't know if you've looked into this, but there are a lot of really prominent people that have Pluto in the 12th house. Have you noticed that? Oh,
right. No, I haven't actually. No, I don't look at I never really think of looking at the outer planets really in houses, but yeah, no, I haven't noticed that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Salvini, the guy who might be able to turn the tide here, and I think he will. I think he will. Honestly, I listened to him speaking, and I just thought, oh wow, you really don't care. He was just like saying, "Yep, I don't. That's it." They don't talk about it. They don't talk about him here in the United States. They don't. Nope. You don't hear anything about Salvini. Yeah, I hear a lot about Merkel, though. Oh, right. Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I don't watch the news in England either. So it's just what I see I get coming up on YouTube and stuff. So, yeah. What was I going to say about him? I forgot now. No, I forgot. Oh, it's gone out of my head. Well, you did a chart for Italy too. Why don't we pull that one up? And that way, because some people have asked me before, can you do charts for other countries? And I thought this would be a good time to do that. Oh yes, Italy. Let's get into that. There we go. This is Italy, which June 10th, 1946. So post-war Italy. Yeah, this is the transits for June this year, because there's Uranus there opposite the moon. So I think Italy's coming into some big changes. So a moon is the people. It rules the 9th house of foreigners as well. And I didn't know, like, he was being interviewed, Salvini, and he was saying it was really only until Italy was pretty much a homogenous country until about 2000, and then it sort of started coming in. But and it's in England and everywhere else, obviously there's been multiculturalism for a long time, but Italy, I mean, I noticed that whenever I used to go there, I was thinking it's so Italian. And yeah, so I don't know why lately, but then of course with the migrant crisis even more so, because it's the first stop. It's so close to the front line of things with Sicily. Did you notice that, like, the main boat that was ferrying the migrants over to, like, Italy and Spain was called Aquarius? Did you notice that? Oh yes, yeah, the Aquarius. Ooh, the age of Aquarius. Humanitarian, lovely. I know, it's crazy. Yeah. So you're using whole signs here, and you've got Scorpio on the ascendant for Italy. Yeah, yeah. Did you have Salvini's ascendant as Scorpio as well? Is that right? Oh yes. Well, yeah, it is 10 degrees Scorpio. Right.
Yeah. Oh, right. So they, yeah, well, that figures. Scorpio ascendant, both of them.
Right.
Passionate.
That's intense, right?
It's intense.
Yeah.
Mars ruled.
See, Scorpio rising, like myself, would notice that. You know.
Oh, all right. Yeah, yeah.
Anything else you want to share about this chart in terms of where Italy might be heading?
Well, yeah, that was the only thing that really jumped out was have they got, oh, hang on. They're gonna have a Neptune square sun as well. So
that's like an identity crisis, right?
God, or religion.
That's where I was going to go next. Religion, Vatican.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
that's like a country within a country. Vatican City's like a country within a country.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, Italy's kind of lost its Christianity a bit. I mean, their birth rates are right down, and I thought that was really weird because I always thought of Italy as being very, well, I don't know. I mean, all my cousins have tons of babies, and everyone in Sicily seems to be very, still having kids and stuff. But I was really shocked to see that Italy as a whole, it's one of the lowest birth rates in Europe. I was thinking, how did that happen?
Yeah, I think I read that. I mean, maybe that maybe it's environmental or something,
don't know. I don't know why that is. Strange.
So this is interesting. A bit of an identity crisis, issue with religion, and then Uranus in the 7th house, a radical shift with partnerships.
Oh, allies. Yeah.
Right.
I wonder if it'll make more. I mean, the thing is, there's the Hungary president and Poland and like a lot of European countries that are now populist. So, I mean, maybe they can form an ally with them. But the thing is, I know Salvini said, look, he's not really against the European Union or a union because he thinks Europe should unite together to sort this migrant thing out. But instead of it being, working against us, working for us, and Europeans should sort this out and, make Europe great again.
Well, but, that's interesting because that falls in line with his Jupiter and Aquarius to some extent.
Yeah. So when he said that, he goes, "No, I'm not against the European Union. It's just corrupt." He wants to make it, and it's true. I'd be for a European Union if it was run by people that didn't hate Europe,
right?
So, who weren't like just determined to destroy it, which what they're doing.
Yeah, it was a big, once they. So I was really tracking the European Union back when Greece was having its economic crisis.
Oh yeah, I was too then. Yeah.
And I was convinced that one of the reasons why they started the European Union or the EU was to bleed all these countries simultaneously, because once they were locked in to the economic system, which was transcontinental, everybody would bleed, right? So if Greece was bleeding, that meant the rest of the EU theoretically was bleeding. And then you would have sort of what Germany was doing and loaning more money to Greece and putting Greece in deeper debts. And Germany knowing that Greece had no way of paying Germany back without completely signing everything over to Germany, right? Germany would then take on a financial hit as well. So you see this domino effect taking place. So I felt like go ahead.
No, it's just that Europe as a union, it shouldn't be a kind of economic one because they're all so different. It's always been the north of Europe. It's been really the sort of more manufacturing and more kind of, less agricultural. And then the south has always been more poor.
Right.
All of it's always been like that. Like the south of Italy's always been more poor because it's, I don't know, the warmer climates, people, maybe they just want to sit back and
there's some truth. There's some truth to that. I think if you're in cold weather, you want to get your work done and you want to go inside, right? You don't want to lounge around very much.
Yeah.
I think there's some truth to that.
But then again, I've been in Sicily, it's too bloody hot to work as well.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You have the long lunches for a reason because it's just too hot to work midday.
Yeah.
So, it's just a different lifestyle. And like actually Salvini was originally the his party was Lega Nord, and it was wanting to break away from the south of Italy, because Italy was divided into two kingdoms anyway in the beginning.
That's right. Yeah.
And the north was always more sort of about merchants and money and banks, and it was always richer. And the south was always like, you know, the poor relation, the agricultural, and said to be stupid, and you know. So there's always been like, the northerners have always looked down at the southerners. But then he realized that, you know, we need to unite with this. So so he stopped calling it Lega Nord, and now it's just called Lega. So yeah, so it's nice. At least it's united the whole of Italy now, because they realize that they shouldn't be fighting amongst themselves, and yeah, fight against the real enemy.
See, this is what people don't understand. Right. I mean, there's so much division.
Yeah.
So much divide and conquer, you know, and people are, you know, really holding on, you know, with a death grip to their agendas. If you just loosen it up a little bit and understand that, you know, you're being played, we're being played, this group over here is being played. Maybe we should all kind of, you know, join forces here and really rethink, you know, who the quote unquote other is, or the enemy is.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing, the nationalism bit really pisses me off, because it used to be that nationalism was kind of working class, and for on the left even. I mean, nationalism, I mean, why is it suddenly far right if you're a nationalist?
Right.
So it's like, it's ridiculous. But now I think they're seeing that with the whole yellow vests, because the yellow vests are from all sides. So I think they say that there's like, you know, left involved, and it's just mad. So this whole thing about, as soon as you say you're nationalist, you're far right. You're not even right. You're far right, which is insane. Yeah,
it's totally insane. I mean, in this country, you know, the Democrats used to actually. Well, the Democrats are weird because they've got some very strange roots. They were connected to the KKK. And,
yeah, I know.
You know, but during the 1960s, they became sort of the Populist Party. Actually, a little bit before that, you know, the Populist Party, Roosevelt, the People's Party. They became, you know, very connected and attached to the unions. And they theoretically stood up for the little guy, theoretically. And I put quotes around that. But that's where they were, and they tended to be a bit more what we might term nationalist today. So, but everything's being inverted now, and I think that's part of the plan.
That's why everyone's just confused, because it's been turned around upside down so many times. Everyone's just dizzy with it now.
That's right. The inversion game is part of the deal. So we got a chat going on, and I just wanted to see if anybody's got some any questions, any comments at this point, because we're about an hour, maybe a little over an hour and 20 in. Let me see if there's anybody in the chat room that's got anything that they want to ask. There's a lot of people helping each other out with medical issues tonight in the chat room. Very interesting. Pet stuff. Jessica says nationalism is the Achilles heel of the New World Order. I would agree with that, unless the New World Order decides to turn the New World Order into a nationalist model. Watch out for that, which I've talked about before. Let's see, what else do we have here? Lots of stuff going on with cats and cat issues. Let's see.
Cool.
Anything else? Yeah, so we got a whole side thing going on in the chat room. Okay, Kel Bell says, yes, Robert, son, and somebody's Saturn in family, is that karmic? Okay, let me throw this out to Marina. Somebody asked a question. If, let's say, somebody in your family, their Saturn is on your sun, they're asking if that is karmic. I have an interesting view of karma, which not everybody shares.
I'm not sure about the karma thing either.
What would you say to that? If somebody's Saturn, they're in your family, is on your sun?
I mean, maybe it is that they are supposed to protect you or look after you, or they were responsible for you in another life, or there's some kind of karmic, what's the word, agreement to take care of you, maybe, I would think. Yeah. Karmic is such a weird one because we use it all the time. And then what does it actually mean, karmic? It's what,
Right.
past lives? Do you owe something? Is it a negative thing? Oh, there's the cat.
You know Jasper, right? Have you
Yeah,
seen
yeah. Oh, sweet.
decided to make his entrance.
You.
So do you believe in past lives?
I do. Well, I don't know. I do. I think I do. I think I do because you see, I used to believe in them. And then I'm thinking, are past lives just your genes remembering things, like your genetic memory?
Well, that's interesting.
And then I'm thinking maybe there aren't any, and it's just, and then that's like, oh my God, we've all been conned, and we only have this life, but we only live on through our children. But what if you don't have kids? Then you can't be reincarnated. So that was my new theory, that maybe there's no reincarnation. It's a big lie, and the only way you can reincarnate is by having children, and it goes through them. Like the cells live on, and then it's all very 3D. And then everyone will say to me, no, but then what about the other lives, the other dimensions? I don't know, but yeah, I mean,
Have you ever had a dream that felt like a past life?
I had past life regression, and I thought, is it just my imagination? Because it seemed very clear, but I didn't go really full into the trance, and she was sort of guiding me a bit. But dreams that are past life, no, actually, I don't think I have. I don't think I have, but I get feelings. I have a very strong connection with England, and I've done the DNA test, and I thought, oh, I must have some English DNA, but I haven't. So I do think past life England for sure. If I believe in past lives, then yeah, because I have a really strong love of it. Oh my God, I love England, but I have no reason to. Like when I go on holiday and I come back and I see the green grass of home, it's like, oh, the white cliffs of Dover. I'm really, really attached to it, and like the Tudor times, definitely,
Right,
really strongly. So
interesting.
more than, and Ireland as well, and Scotland. I love the British Isles.
They're pretty magical, I have to say.
Yeah, I think they're really magical.
Yeah. So in my relocated chart, I have Pluto right on my midheaven, running right through London. Right.
Oh,
So
right.
I have an interesting story about that. So the first time I went to London was in 1984, and I was traveling to this place called Findhorn. You know about Findhorn?
Oh, I've heard of Findhorn, yeah.
So I went to Findhorn. I was just out of college. So I'm traveling with these Americans and a couple of Canadians. We're part of a group. So we get to London very early on in the day, and we're leaving for a sleeper train to go to Inverness that night. So we have this whole day in London. We're all sleep deprived, and it's a Sunday. And the energy was very weird for me that day. I mean, I was having a very, very difficult time with this energy. And later on, I would find out that my Pluto line runs right through London. Now, so here's what happens. So we dispersed, and we're, kind of our group is kind of walking around. And there's this kind of New Age church in London. I forget the name of it, but it's a church. And they had these New Age programs. And that night, they had this program that I thought was going on. It was on death and transformation, right? So I'm thinking, hey, this is kind of cool. We have some time. Why don't we go there? So I'm with my friends. I say, hey, look, I found this church. They've got this free thing tonight on death and transformation. Why don't we go? They're like, really? Where is it? It's just around the corner. Like, okay. So about 6 of us pile into this church. We got some bags and stuff with us. And we sit down. And it turns out that it is a memorial for this woman who was a social worker, right? And, so they're talking about her life, and people are reading, poems by John Donne, and they're playing this cello, some Bach. I'm like, this is too weird. It's like I felt like a spiritual tourist, and not in a good way, right? It's like but that was the Pluto experience. Like I walked in as, you know, somebody's memorial. You know, it was so Plutonian for me.
And
it was like, man, this place, London, it's intense. And it is a really intense. I mean, for me, it is.
Yeah, no, I think it is an intense city, and I find it. I've lived here all my life, and I find it really hard to escape from it. And like if you go to the east, the city of London with all the dragons and the sort of it's very Masonic, and the bank and the Temple Bar and there's Freemasons' arms and pubs that are really sort of Templars and Masonic. So it's really and I went into the Masonic Lodge of London. That was really freaky as well last week. So I just had a tour of it. Some guy said, "Oh, do you want to come and we'll go inside?" That was really weird.
So what was it like? Can you be more specific? Was the energy weird or what?
Yeah, well, the symbols, like he kept saying that there was a zodiac. There's the zodiac around the ceiling, and he said, "Oh yes, people will say, oh, you know, it's very supernatural, and well, we just put it there because it's pretty." And he just kept saying that every symbol there was, oh, you know, people will say that 5-pointed star is like something to do with the devil. Like, he's really hamming it up, and then he said, "But it's just because it's a pretty star." And then one of the guys that was there in the tour, he was like Indian, and he said, "But what about those, like, what's that 6-pointed star?" He goes, "Is that like the Star of David?" And he was going, "No, it's 2 triangles put on top of each other. It's nothing to do with."
So he was soft selling the whole thing, right?
It was so weird, but he was really going on and on about people will say it's, you know, and it was so weird. But the whole place was really soundproof. He goes, "Can you hear anything? No traffic outside?" Yeah, it's really quiet, isn't it? And he said it's not because somebody strange things.
Yeah, somebody could get murdered in here. Nobody would know, right?
Yeah, I know. It was like he was sort of telling you, but not telling you, and oh, it's really weird. But it was beautiful. It was like really nice, stained glass windows and everything. But it just seemed, I don't know. I did get a weird vibe about it. It was strange. It was very, and the checkerboard carpet, you know, I was just walking on it, and it just felt really, it was really quiet, and and the thrones and everything. Oh, the inside door. That's it. The inside door was the weird thing, because on the outside he was going on about there's the thing of Solomon, and it was like done like bits of Egyptian. And he picked me to push the door open as well. He goes,
"Oh, that's symbolic, right?"
No, it's really weird. He goes, "The doors are like, they weigh a ton, but you can push it open with your little finger." So, and he was saying, so he goes, "You can do it." So I was like pushing it with my finger. It's so weird. And we came, and I was the first to go in there, and it was like, oh. And but then when we were in, we were talking about everything. He was playing the organ and blah blah blah. But I turned around and I saw the back of the door, these heavy doors. And they had really odd. It looked like some like angels, but with their hands over their eyes like that. And then it had bodies like going up to heaven. With a it just was really eerie. And he goes, "You can take photos, it's all right and everything." But he really steered us away from the door. So when he went to play the organ, I sort of took a quick photo of it. So I've got a photo of it. But he wanted us to look at everything else but the inside of the back of the door. And then again, the Indian guy said, "So what is the significance of the things on the door, the pictures on the door?" And he just went, "Oh, we haven't really got time to talk about that, so we'll go now."
So were you there with other people or by yourself?
No, there was me and this guy that I went with, and there was 3 other people for the tour. So you go in there and they do a tour of the building. Because you can't go into the main bit with the checkered floor and the thrones and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
The soundproof room with the doors that I pushed with my finger without somebody there. But he was just going on about, yes, you know, we're not secret. We're really open. And that's why we do these tours, to show you what we're about.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, it was really
Then you
weird.
said, "Well, why don't you take us about 3 levels down and let's see what's down there?" Let's go through
no, but
that
that
back.
job was really disturbing. It was I don't understand. It looked like they were wings, and there was the two pillars. It had the sun and the moon, and then the pillar, and then they had these wings, and then a torso, but with no arms or no legs. And it looked like it was doing that. It's like, you know, don't tell, don't see, you know.
You can't see, right.
Don't see this, or don't. Yeah.
Right.
It was
The
just really
the mysteries cannot be revealed, right? I mean, that's kind of what it is. Somebody asked in the chat room what your take on Macron is, because you had some predictions for Macron.
Oh yeah, I did it ages ago. I haven't looked at the charts lately, but I think he's gonna go. I think because he's a puppet. It's obvious, and we'll see what happens. I'll have to have a look at the chart again.
Somebody said that you saw a sex scandal coming up for him during the summer.
Oh God, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Yeah. Yes. So maybe there is. That's weird. I forgot about that. I can't remember when. I'll have to re-look at my post about Macron again.
Well, his whole thing, like falling in love with his teacher, is like really strange, right?
But maybe he was also, maybe the sex scandal thing was maybe, you know, a lot of these puppet politicians have had kind of blackmailing things. So maybe
absolutely.
Scandal.
I think that's part of their CVs, actually.
Yeah, so he's got some sort of sex scandal blackmail thing. Maybe.
And they just pull the string when they want to, right?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let me see if there's any more questions or any comments. Macron, Rothschild puppet. Yes, I agree with that. Let's see. You guys have any questions for Marina? This is your chance. She said she'll answer almost anything. Any questions? A little bit of a delay. Let's find out. Let's see. What else do we have? Some stuff on past lives. We talked about Macron. What else? Let's see, anybody else? The dollar is an ancient rune. Tilted means, or is scourge. Macron's wife is his handler. That's what Jardin.
Oh, right.
Yep, that makes sense.
It seems to be the older woman thing seems to be a handler thing as well. Because I'm thinking of that for the Beatles, like John Lennon and Yoko Ono and Paul McCartney with Linda. I don't know if she was older, but she seemed,
Linda had the goods on him.
Yeah.
Linda. Yeah. So where are you on the Paul Fall thing?
I love, this is my favorite subject, Paul McCartney. I mean, he's a Mason, isn't he?
Well, he is a Mason, clearly. And you think we're dealing with the original Paul? I don't.
No. And I think there were a few of them. And I think this Paul, you can see I think he's been in and out when they were the Beatles, when there was the original Paul. I think he was sometimes playing, because sometimes you could see, because I'm a big Beatles fan, so I've got all the old films, and sometimes I think, oh God, that looks like Bill Shepherd, you know,
right?
When he was younger.
Supposedly, he's a very good musician.
Yeah.
And Paul apparently could barely play a bass.
Yeah.
In fact, none of them could really play very much early on. That was the knock on them, or at least that's what Quincy Jones says.
Oh, yeah.
So you think that Billy Shepherd was around?
I think he was definitely around. Yeah, I think he's always been there. I think he's always been like one of the doubles. And because he'd have to know, because he knows, like when they ask him questions about when you were on tour, when you were young and all that, he knows it all, because I think he was there.
Right.
I think he was always there. So, but I don't know what they did with original Paul, whether he was done away with or not. I think he was. I think it's quite sad.
So didn't he? Supposedly he died in a car accident, right? It was.
Yeah.
That's sort of the rumor, right? And there was somebody who was on the scene. Who was it that saw the accident?
Oh yeah, and then you were
Rita,
sent away on holiday.
Rita the meter maid, right? Lovely Rita meter
Oh
maid.
yeah.
She saw the accident.
Oh no, there was some reporter as well who reported it, and he knew some things because it came out when it actually happened. But then he was sent away or something on a long holiday, so he
Right.
couldn't talk about it, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the whole Beatles thing and the whole control of the music industry is just so sad.
It's all Tavistock. That's Tavistock stuff.
Yeah. But I was watching recently about the rap scene as well. So I didn't really know much about it because I'm not into that at all. But it's awful what they did to the whole gangster rap. That just ruined a whole.
Yeah. So I used to be in the music business. So I was around a lot of that stuff, and some of it peripherally, and some of it like kind of more in close. And clearly, there was a big business decision that was made right around 1990, and this is when Public Enemy was at their peak, and NWA was just starting out. And apparently, the record industry had invested in the prison systems, right?
Oh yes, I heard about that today. Yeah.
So they were
prisons.
So they were like, we don't want these people to, really gain a foothold and become conscious. So let's begin to drop Public Enemy and let's push NWA. And that's when the whole gangster rap thing started to get into play. Crime went up. And theoretically, the people in the music industry who'd invested in these private prisons began to make more money. That's part of it. The other part was control, obviously.
Yeah, and I didn't realize. I thought, well, why aren't the rappers actually managing themselves? Or why aren't the black people the managers there? And they did try and start their own thing, but it was made impossible for them to do that. Apparently,
it was very difficult. I mean, if you want to get tours, if you want deals, if you want your money, because that's the other thing. There's the music industry's banking is arcane, right? Their payments are arcane. There's all these charges and double charges, and in some instances, these artists don't even have their own money. They're all almost like on a credit card system with these labels. So I think they made it very difficult. And then, of course, there's going up the pyramid, and when you go up the pyramid, you've got to play the game. You can only get so far, and I think now it's just totally compromised, and it's all a cult, and it's
totally. Now there's no. I mean, that's what I worry about for my daughter, because she's listening to this music, and I'm just thinking that just sounds like robots. It's horrible now. There's nothing. There's nothing left of any melody.
It's terrible.
I know you sound like some old, git saying, "Oh, this music's horrible now," in my day, but it really is bad.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of your daughter, we were gonna get into this generation stuff.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah. There was something that came to my mind when we were talking, and it was to do with where I can't get to it now. I've lost, because you're filling the whole screen. How did that happen? Oh, hang on. Oh, there we go. I pressed the wrong button. There it is. Yeah, the generations. Because that 1990 thing, I was thinking, when did that happen? And that was during the millennial.
Was Pluto in Scorpio, 1990?
Pluto was in Scorpio. It was on Una Carli, which was the serpent, the fixed star. Because I was looking at the fixed stars that Pluto was on as well, because then you get slight sort of different things. And I thought, and the thing, what's associated with the Una Carli is immorality, poisons, diseases, and it's just a really yucky star. So I'm just thinking that was when the gangster rap sort of came in around that time. And also then towards the end of the millennials, this is Pluto in Scorpio. You had the Blair and the Clintons and the New Labour sort of. That's when the Champagne Socialists kind of came out as well. So they're part of the millennials. But the the thing about the millennials being Pluto in Libra in the beginning, apparently narcissism is one of their characteristics, which I thought that's very kind of Libra, Venus ruled sort of thing. And then, but then the AIDS thing with the Pluto into Scorpio was 84. And that's 84. When AIDS became a real sort of worldwide kind of issue as well. So it sort of fits. And then Generation Z was basically Sagittarius into Capricorn. But then, yeah, World Wide Web, Sagittarius, that came out. That was when the web really sort of hit. And they are the first generation to grow up with smartphones. So, yeah.
For better or worse on that one.
Yeah, no, I know. But then the next generation after that will be, they date it from, well, Generation Z ends in 2014. So the next one will be, I don't know what they'll be, Generation Alpha or something. If the Generation Z comes to the end, that will be the Capricorn Aquarius generation. And I thought, God, what are they going to be like? Are they just going to be like robots? I don't know.
Well, if you go out to 2025, 2025, that's when Pluto clearly is in Aquarius.
Yeah.
Neptune moves into Aries. Uranus is in Gemini, and Saturn is in Aries. I mean, think about that. That's 2025. There's absolutely no grounding from Saturn on to any of the outer planets.
Oh.
And Uranus and Pluto are in trine, right? Very early on during that time. So that's kind of, I think 2025 is like the continental shelf. That's when things just kind of drop off. And I think we're in a very different world right around 2025.
Oh, I don't know. And I just think it's really funny that it comes to the end of the generations in 2014, and that was when all the sort of migration crisis started. So, I don't know. It's like, is it the end of Western civilization by the end of that's awful. I don't want it to be so black.
Here's what I think. I think it's probably the end of capitalism, capital markets as we know it. Everything will be digital, right? That's what it feels like.
Or maybe it will be the end of the control of the bankers. Maybe it's the end of them.
That would be great.
I think it's got to happen. It's got to happen because it's got to happen. It's just got to. Otherwise it's just the end.
Right.
And I don't want it to be the end. So it just seems weird that it's Generation Z comes to the end at 2014.
Let's talk about that generation. You've got a 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
I've got a 15-year-old boy. There obviously people are going to listen to this commentary between the two of us. They have children that are part of this generation. What is your take on them?
I think they are more, what's the word? More Apollonian. I think they are more serious. And I think they're less, I don't know whether, like in past generations, there was always a bit of, the whole sort of like teenage sex thing and sex before marriage and drug abuse and being a bit, being quite wild. But they seem not wild at all. They're really asexual as well. And now I'm thinking maybe they're just afraid of it. Because my daughter hasn't said anything about boyfriends. They're not like, God, at her age, I was like, my whole room was like plastered with like pop stars and it was crushes on boys. And we were all like that. It was all like, we're always talking about boys the whole time. But her generation don't seem like that at all. And I don't know.
I think that's true. That's been my experience. Yeah.
In sex much at all. And she's also really kind of prudish when it comes to, like, if it's on telly, she's going, no, Mum, we can't watch this. We can't watch this. They're really like, they don't want to know any of that. I think they've been overkilled with it. Because when you look at like pop music now and you see them on MTV, they're just it's just pornography.
Yeah.
And I think they just can't see it anymore. It's just been overkill. So maybe they're going towards being very puritanical.
Well, there's a morality.
Actually.
Well, there's a thread of morality that runs through Sagittarius, right? I mean, I think that's part of what they're grasping or trying to find or hold on to.
Yeah. Actually, she was born, hang on, she was born 2003. So yeah, of course she's Pluto and Sagittarius. But now it's the Capricorn ones. I think they're going to be even more. But then I was thinking, well, maybe the reason that my daughter and her friends are quite sort of saintly in a way is because they do hang out with a lot of Muslim girls, and they're very strict. So they don't, they don't go out getting drunk and taking drugs like we did.
But even that, right, is very Sagittarian, and kids from other countries.
Yeah, and different religions.
Yeah.
So which were functioning now like Christianity did in the 50s, I guess, or the 40s, or when the teenagers in the 50s, they weren't getting pregnant, were they? They did a sort of heavy petting a bit, but they didn't really. Right. They're a bit more straight-laced, I think. But that was because Christianity was more powerful, and then the Beatles came along, and it was all like, slam Christians and Jesus and all this. The Beatles more popular than Jesus. So I think, in a weird kind of way, and I mean, I'm talking about my school where there's a heavy Islamic influence, but they're really religious, and they don't go out partying. So, but I don't know, maybe she's still young, but no, by 15 we were certainly, underage drinking and doing that, my generation.
Right. Right. No, very, very different. Yeah, you had Neptune. Yeah. You have Neptune in Scorpio, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have now they have Neptune in Aquarius and Uranus in Pisces, right? That's their general, which is very odd.
Oh, that's almost like mutual reception with them, kind of.
Yeah.
It's
unusual, right? I mean, so their ideas of religion are going to be very different, right? Very unusual, very different, very Aquarian. Maybe the dissolution of traditional religion with that generation. What do you think?
Yeah, because my daughter she didn't want to do the Catholic thing. She didn't want to be confirmed. She goes, I'm an atheist. I went, Stella, you can't mean that. She goes, you must believe in some kind of God. She goes, well, yeah, but I don't know. They're a bit confused about it all. She does believe, she believes in, she goes, I believe in Jesus was a nice guy, and I believe in reincarnation, and they don't really think about it. But
I was thinking with Uranus and Pisces that, Pisces is like drugs and alcohol, and Uranus indicates a flip, right? It indicates kind of this change, this kind of radical departure. And maybe that's where this kind of moving away from those kinds of habituations might come into play. That they've got a different relationship or a radically different kind of synergy with these Piscean kinds of substances and dilutions,
Maybe it's kind of extremes though, because I'm thinking, she said the other school that is more kind of like white working class, she said she calls them the chav school. She goes, they're all really like the girls dress really tarty, so they're like the opposite extreme. Like my daughter's school is very academic, and it's very, they have to wear ties, and they're quite sort of it's a more strict school, whereas the other school, so I don't know, maybe I'm judging it more on the girls that my daughter hangs around with. But then the others are very extreme. They're more like, they dress really, really like kind of, I don't know, like MTV slutty singers. I don't know.
Well, I think that's the spectrum of Sagittarius, which can be wild, really wild, and then can be like really devout. I mean, that I've what's his name? Beckett. The bishop Beckett, English history Beckett.
Oh yeah.
So have you ever seen that film with Richard Burton? And
oh no, I was meaning to because I really like him. Yeah, yeah.
you should watch. You should watch. It's a very, very heavy film.
Oh, okay. I love Richard Burton. Yeah, yeah. I'll have to see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So he winds up. He's Beckett, and
Oh.
and he plays the king's drinking buddy and everything. And then he goes through this heavy duty transformation, becomes this, like dyed in the wool cleric who winds up, being executed right by the king's men.
Oh.
And I looked and I thought to myself, well, that's a really Sagittarian kind of behavior. And I looked it up and clearly he was a Sag. He went through that kind of Sagittarian sort of debauchery and then, found this kind of light and then became this reformer, which I think we'll see with this Pluto and Sag generation. Ultimately, I think it's a generation of reformation. That's how I see them.
Yeah. Yeah. I think actually the ones that dress up really tarty, but they're not doing things. I think the boys don't even approach them. I think they're quite scared to. And I don't think they're having sex or anything. I just think they just dress like that now because it's just, the sexy kind of dress thing all the female singers
it's
kind of wear.
Yeah, it's like, everybody's been programmed to be whores, right? I mean, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but
it's kind of
but they don't actually do it. That's the thing.
Right.
Yeah, I think so. But I don't know about these other girls, but yeah, I think they'd be really shocked if someone came up to them and said, "Hey, sexy." So
what about millennials? We talked about Gen Z. What about millennials? Where do you think they're headed, and what do you think their contribution to this whole thing is going to be?
See, the millennials, I didn't know this, but they were referred to as echo boomers because they are the daughters of the kids of the baby boomers. And there was a bit of a boom in the 90s, apparently.
So they're the second largest generation outside the boomers.
Yeah. So, and they, see, these are I think they're the ones that have been brought up on the kind of being nice and being liked, and
that's the Libra wave, though.
It is. That's it. It's the Libra wave, but then it goes into Scorpio. But yeah, somebody says that they were called the generation like, but they're all the famous millennials: Kim Kardashian, Beyonce, Katy Perry, PewDiePie. So they're all kind of millennials, but they are. Yeah, they're the liberal lot. They're the last of the liberals. But then Generation Z is going to be very different, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think they're the last.
I think the millennials might have their hands full with Generation Z at some point. I mean, I think you'll see Generation Z basically say, no, we're not going to participate in this, or we don't want to do this, or
yeah. It's like you probably don't get this comedy in the US, but do you know Absolutely Fabulous?
The two women.
Yeah.
Right,
and the mother's really she's a bit of a boomer actually, and her daughter's like really, really straight-laced.
Yeah.
And so it's that kind of thing. Yeah, I think so. The millennials are they're like mini boomers really. They're still I'm very special and special snowflakey type people. And but Generation Z are like the kids of Gen X, which is my generation. So it's funny. I think they skip a generation. Like nobody likes a generation just above them. They seem to get on with the one before that.
Right.
So I'm glad I've got a Gen Z daughter rather than a millennial daughter. But she's got a bit of a millennial about her because she's a Libra anyway. So
right.
It's all I want to be fair to everyone, but she's so scared of offending. They're so scared of standing out.
I think that's I think that's part of their generation, though.
Yeah, maybe.
It's a generation that kind of treads on this line of conformity.
Yeah.
But they're not even sure why.
Yeah. But I think as it goes, let's see, because it goes, then it goes into Capricorn and it gets a bit more, I think.
Those Pluto and Capricorn kids, those are old souls. I mean, we could throw that out. I've seen these kids, they're basically 10 years old and younger. Like they're like little freaking adults. I mean,
well. Yeah.
That's a generation to watch out for, because I think those kids are going to be CEOs at like 15, 16, 17 years old. You know, if they're not all being sort of transmuted into their opposite sex, because that's also part of their programming now.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, that's another thing with them not having sex, is that maybe the hormones aren't even raging anymore. Maybe that's why it's easy for them not to do anything. And so the girls can dress up as tarty as anything to get attention, because boys aren't even looking at them. Maybe that's why. You know.
Well, you've got a point there. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I think that's it, because I noticed that. I just think when I was younger, like, the boys were really leery, and you know, and now they're all like, yeah, it's the soy boy thing. I think they've lost their testosterone. So oh God, I hope not.
Well, I mean, here's what I think. I think in this country, I can't speak to what's going on in England, but I think it's very difficult to be a young man in this country.
Oh yeah, no, it's the same with England, I think, as well.
There's so much heavy duty programming and social pressure, and I think a lot of young men are really kind of struggling to try to find where they fit into society, when there's all this noise basically saying that you're toxic, or
yeah, the whole toxic, oh my God. Yeah, no, actually, yeah, my daughter said at school, they had I don't know which class it was, but the teacher said to the whole class, she said, so which who among you are feminists? It's a mixed school, so there's boys as well. And she goes, so feminists on that side of the room and people who are not on the other. Talk about peer pressure. And Stella said, oh, there was just 2 boys on the other side of the room who weren't feminists. And I said, were they Muslim? And she goes, yeah.
Wow.
So of course, I said, well, good for them. Fucking good for them. They would be the only ones that say, no, I'm not bloody feminist. So yeah.
Why is the school even doing this? I mean,
I know. I was really surprised, because
I'm not. I'm sorry.
Well, no, for that sort of school, because the head he's a Sikh. So, but the teachers they're all sort of they're all liberal whites. So that's why. Yeah.
They got to carry that torch, right?
Yeah.
So, Marina, it's getting pretty late there. You ready to?
Oh yes. Oh my God, it's 12. It's time for bed.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a busy day with clients and such tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Back to work.
Well, this has been great having you on.
Yeah, it's been great. It's gone really quickly. So yeah.
Yeah. So we should do this again sometime.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you want to bring me on your channel, I'd be
Oh yeah. See, I don't do like interviews or anything, but maybe I should.
Well, you don't have to, but I'll be happy to bring you back again regardless.
Yeah, we'll do this again. Definitely.
Okay. Let me just see real quick to see if anybody in the chat room has any other questions or comments before we sign off tonight. You guys have any questions or comments for Marina? We got to thank you, Marina, with some purple hearts.
Oh, purple, yes.
Thomas Beckett, yes, that's what we're talking about. She said she will sub. Okay, cool, good. She'll sub to you now.
Oh, cool.
Anybody else? Any other questions, comments before we say goodnight? Trey Being says the teachers are mindless. Well, they've been programmed.
Yeah.
Judy says, thank you, Marina. Thanks for the podcast.
Thank you.
Let's see. Got Chiron return. Okay, what else? Great show. Thanks, Anna. Great show, food for thought. Okay, I think we're going to sign off then. Love the show. Got a lot of love. Where can they find you? Darkstar Astrology.
Oh, right? Yes, darkstarastrology.com. I've got the YouTube channel as well. And yeah, and Facebook, all the Instagram as well. Got them all.
I bet your Instagram is like pretty cool. Very visual.
Yeah, I've got loads of photos of Malta because I just went to Malta recently. So
I'm going to follow you on Instagram. I don't post anything, but I'll follow you.
Yeah. I do some, I've got some good things.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, it's been great, Marina. You have a great day tomorrow. And we'll see you again sometime, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Good night.
Good night. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.